where we cover various issues from professional perspectives. Joining me today are my colleagues from the Sandbox. My name is Thomas Kaberi. Today we are covering how to manage client expectations around free services. So I'll just welcome my colleagues to introduce themselves. We can start.
Hi everyone, my name is Juliet. I'm a HR expert at the Sandbox.
Hi everybody, my name is Angela Curie. I am the legal expert at the Sandbox.
My name is Alex Moy, and obviously I am the creative and digital marketing expert at the Sandbox.
Welcome guys. So today you should expect to learn three things from this conversation. We're going to have fun and we're going to cover a lot of details, but you should expect to get at least three things. Number one, we're going to talk about why clients even expect to get free services. Yeah. And then number two, I would like us to cover issues around what are the things or what are the tactics, whether crude or nice, that clients use to manage their ways around getting free services. But most importantly, anybody should expect to take away from this conversation is then how do we handle ourselves and handle clients and handle those relationships in order to manage those expectations and get the worth of value for our services. Yeah. So I would like us to start with why you think people go for free services. Why do people go for free legal services? Why do they even expect free legal services?
I think a lot of times you might find that, I'm trying to think from my experience, but a lot of times it's almost like an expectation that you need to kind of sort of prove yourself to me that you are able to do what you say you're going to do. And then maybe I will consider whether or not I will give you the work. So that's the first feeling that I get, that there's an expectation of almost like, give me a taste of of what you can do. Yeah, and so there's that you kind of feel like someone wants you to prove yourself. So give me a taste of what you can do. Then I think also to some certain extent, guys also look at the services and think maybe don't understand what was behind the provision of these services. So a lot of times I'll hear things like, it's just a contract, that's standard, we edit and paste, copy and paste, you're just going to change the names. So there's a sort of devaluation of the services that you're giving, in that, we all know advocates, you tend to copy paste, you tend to do certain things. So, you should give this to me at a cheaper price or even free, because you're not really going to spend a lot of time on it.
Yeah, so Alex, you're the digital guy. I mean, it's just changing colors.
Yeah. It's just posting on Facebook.
Yeah, it's just posting on Facebook.
It's just shooting a video.
Yes.
What really does go
Point
into
and
it.
shoot.
Yes.
And for sure, I do think the same Angela said, is people sometimes, number one, they don't know the value of the service, or they don't understand what's the hard work that goes into it. Secondly, also is the proof of concept. Obviously, they want to be like, shoot so that I can see what kind of photos we'll get. Like, okay, but if you've seen other photos we've done, I'm assuming that's what brought you, the quality, the whatever. So there's that as well. Then thirdly, we have, also devaluing creatives as well. I know people just think, it's a poster, you just play around with Illustrator or Photoshop, and then you get something. But that in itself is a skill. So if they don't really think of the skill as a value or something you learn for many years.
So Juliet, as a HR, I think what are some of the trends that you see that employers or people posing as employers or even other people try to get as free services from people they should be paying?
Okay, so for me, from my experience, some of the free services people ask for is send me 3 CVs, I see what you can do. What they're forgetting is, for me as a HR person and a recruiter, the recruitment process is like an event. So I have to start talking to candidates, I have to prepare the report for you, like it's a whole event. That's what they're forgetting. And I think HR is one of the most devalued services professionally.
More than creatives.
Yes, more than that. Because people assume you should it's expected of you to tell me.
Yeah.
Especially during this time. Let's say, for example, I want to declare somebody redundant. You tell me. But these things are on Google. You should have Googled.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's one of the services people feel like I can get for free. Yeah. HR is one of the things people feel they can get for free. And what they're forgetting is, first of all, I had to spend some time in school. So there's money that went into that. I paid school fees. By the time, and HR is not like a product. Let's say when you say, this is a cup. When you give me, I think it's professional, even for legal. When you give me a situation, it's different. Yours is different from this other person. So I have to sit, spend time, think about it. So it's a whole, like I said, it's an event. And people, I think this couple of months, HR has been misused.
I would like also to sort of flip the perspective a bit from yourself. You HR people, yeah. You HR people, how do you think? Okay, how have you seen? I'm not going to say that. How have you seen people within your practice sort of use your power, because sometimes you guys can be very powerful, or your positions to get free services from people who have a genuine expectation either to be paid or to be employed or to be prospectful participants in your organization? How does that play? Can you just talk badly a little bit?
So I will talk badly.
Okay, then.
We can look at, I'll say the truth. So we can look at both sides.
Yeah.
So there are some, even us were misused.
Yeah.
I know where you're getting at
Yeah.
with this conversation. So when, let's say, a company comes to me and tells me, get for me business development specialists.
Yeah.
And the thing is, maybe the company has an ulterior motive of collecting information from these people, but for me, I don't know. I'm just doing my work. They'll even pay me. They'll even pay a deposit, everything. They'll act like the best clients. I am not, I don't know. Unless you, as the candidates, also come and tell me, then I'll be able to advise you. Let's do step 1, don't do step 2, then do step 3. Because I'll be able to know whether you're being exploited or not. But if you are very, sometimes job seekers feel like, recruiters are, they are like kazi ya mkono for us. So they don't feel like, as long as I've gotten through the next step, I don't need the recruiter anymore. So if you come and we discuss, I'll be able to tell you, I think this one doesn't look very genuine. So there are some processes which are actually genuine. I've actually taken part in these processes whereby we give job seekers case studies so for us to be able to know who can be able to give us the value for the company or not. But sometimes, I think sometimes it goes too extreme. Yeah. So it's up to you, as a job seeker, it's up to you to now think about it, see whether it's a genuine job or not.
And by extreme, you mean that the company is actually looking for consultancy work,
for free.
but it's posing as an employer.
Yes.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you. So, but why would people even go to those extremes? I would say so. For example, I work for a digitalization company, and a lot of people will come and say it's just a plan. Just show us which apps to buy or which meaning. And so it's not that simple. It's not just about buying technology. It's not about just going onto the right platform. It's also about how do you get your people to make the most out of your technology, and that's a whole ballpark of things. Yeah, and sometimes I sit down and wonder. For example, at least legal we know lawyers get paid. Lawyers should get paid. Yeah, at least. But why would anybody walk to your office and expect a free service? What do you think drives that expectation?
Okay, first I think maybe perhaps it's a bit of culture.
Mm-hmm.
So let me look at it. I want to look at it in a different way. We are all here. We are all owners of businesses or part of businesses. So what is our expectation when we engage in other businesses to do work for us? So do you know, if we all agree we are going to pay for the work that is being done for us, then you've eliminated majority of the problem. Yeah. So I think the first part is it's an attitude and it's almost like an expectation, like it's cultural or what, but it's like an attitude and an expectation that my business, I'm looking at it as B2B, my business or what I need done, I don't really have the budget to do it, Or in the alternative, I want this done, but I don't see why I should pay for it. Yeah, which goes back to value. Because when you come back and talk about value, the mere fact that you want me to do something means that you really know that what I'm doing has a value.
Yes.
Because it will take away my time, it takes away my expertise, but you know for sure that this thing is valuable to somebody is paying for it. So there's an expectation that you have that I either for my business or for my business or for me personally, I have an expectation that I do not want to pay for this or to get it at the lowest rate possible. And I think about how we are as Kenyans, even when you go to the market and you are told these tomatoes are 5 shillings, you will start saying, I like me mama. So ninachukua mingi, so nipunguzie. Like it is almost like a culture that we do, that we have been brought up haggling. So whatever price you're going to be given, it's not there. You will always come and say, I want the best price. I want to feel like you've given me a price which nobody else has gotten. I've gotten this service at, because you feel good when you buy something. You buy a top which was 1,000 bob and someone tells you, Sir, Basi, give me 600 shillings. You know, you feel good because you're like, I've gotten a deal out of it. So there's this whole, I don't know, I think it's more of culture. Like this is something that we do habitually all the time when we engage in businesses. Even when you go to a shop in Biashara Street, utauliza, hakuna discount kwa hii, you know, like this, you will always be there.
Even if it's 1 shilling.
Even if it's 1 shilling, even if it's 10 shillings, we are always expecting one to get a discount, to get a better price, to feel that I've not been taken for a ride. Because there's also that expectation that the person who is telling you, do this one for me, is that if I tell you, okay, this is how much it will cost, there's almost a feeling that I feel like you're taking me for a ride, you're overcharging me, so let me haggle so that at least I get the price that is the right.
So people are just being stingy, or they're just and Alex, we don't do this at petrol stations, we don't do this at supermarkets.
Yeah.
I mean, as a creative, why then would I expect that you can tell me, you can give me a quote of 50 Gs and then 50,000 more. And then all of a sudden in my head I decide what price I want to pay for that service. Can we start talking about how then do you introduce the idea of there's a difference actually between cost, price, and value of whatever I'm delivering. Yeah? Because value, and lawyers are good at this, you should have talked about that. Because the value is about what am I saving you, what pain am I solving for you, what benefit am I getting to you, what traction am I giving you, right? Yeah? Exposure is not really traction, but still, I mean, as a professional, I mean, what on the other side, because two people could get the exact same service, but the value they extract out of it is a lot, right?
Yeah.
So, for example, like for employers, yeah, you know, if you were to talk about HR, for example, you could pay two people the exact same salary, but you're probably getting a higher return on the amount of salary you're paying one person. What do you think about that, Juliet? Because that's a real issue. Around pricing, if you think about employees as service providers, how do you guys manage that? How do you sleep at night knowing that you're paying somebody X and he's probably producing 3 times what their colleagues are producing?
I sleep soundly. I think when it comes to value, also the person taking up the job should understand their value, and they should present it before they take up the job. I know some employers don't know, right now everybody now wants to hire, if you, just any job, you take any job. What happens is, if you pay me below my value, I will not stay with you for long. So that value has an expiry date. But if you value me and you pay me well, the value will be continuous. That's what employers forget. So it's good to check the market rates, talk to people like us, we charge for that service. So you talk to us, we tell you how much this person should be paid. If I look at the CV and experience of a person, or the job description, I'll be able to tell you how much this person is worth.
Isn't it about supply and demand of skills and experience?
Right now, it's about supply and demand, because right now, actually not even right now, our market, usually, it's about supply and demand. So there's a shortage, there are few jobs, but there are people. So the supply is high and the demand is low. So sometimes some employers would take advantage of that. And even if you look at two companies, let's say one company that pays well and the other company doesn't really pay well, you'll be able to see their value, like you'll be able to see which one is doing well and which one is not doing well.
So Alex, but I can just get a nice camera. Even in fact, I have a nice phone. My phone has a nice camera. Yeah, and there are so many people with that. So how do you navigate that conversation around? Yes, it might actually even cost me nothing in view, but because it's so valuable to you, how do you have those conversations?
Okay, first I definitely want to go back to the issue of, for us as creatives, is because the industry now is also a very open industry that, you don't have to have a certificate, you don't have to go to school or anything. So sometimes it's demanded by gig economy, like I have so many graphic designers, why should I go with you? But I like to counter that in the fact that, you see, even with the gig economy, there's many who can do something, and that's why we've seen a lot of those crowdsourcing, We were looking for people, just design a logo, the best one will win 10K, because there is the gig economy. But they are using that gig economy the wrong way. And for creatives, I feel you should also derive your value based on your experience and the value-driven, the value that you can bring to the business. Same as Angela was saying, you are in a position to have services that are working, that's why they're interested in working with you. But if you let them be like, oh, that we can get somebody else with another camera, but there's the experience and consistency and things that you've made into a process to be able to deliver that best value that they are seeing work for somebody else, and they're like, wow, love your portfolio, but you're too high or too low. Like, yeah, I'm too high or too low because, okay, I'm at a certain point, because I feel like my experience has brought me there in the way that we do the things. So for us, mostly it's usually value driven, and we prove that earlier on. And like Angela said, we do have a culture of wanting to bargain, and that is one culture I've killed in our company. I've said, once I am able to sit down with the client and understand their need, we tell a solution. We don't say, now, we are Saudi Kama, 50K. We are like, so you have this need, we feel like we can output this based on the man hours, based on the equipment that we'll use, based on the transport, based on whatever. And then we output a very feasible quote. You're like, this is my quote. If it's a discount, please explain to me why you should also get a discount for this, not just because you've given a job. It's like, so if you really want the discount, also you prove the value of, let's work together, because right now our business is at a certain point, and one of those is right now our business is small, but it will grow and will pay you more. At least tell me at a certain, with aptitude, and tell me, I value your business and I value what you're doing. Maybe we can even reduce some of the things you're offering so that we can balance. So you see, if you're meeting me there, I'll be more appreciative of you wanting the discount. But even when we put out our quotes, they're usually like ironclad, like this is what we feel our value is. I definitely understand that you might want a discount, or it might not be in your budget yet. We can discuss it in the near future, or we can slice down some of the things we want to output. Yeah, not saying that we also, and then there's also a minimum of viable product, which sometimes creatives don't have. They do the bulk, and now that's one of the things. You take so many jobs, you can take, one is paying you 2K, another 5K, 3K, just because you couldn't standardize and tell these people, the same job, this same logo, I can't now be just juggling many, and then, you'd rather take one and perfect and do a good job, to ahitaji kupigia simu 10 times, able to give them their job. So that aspect of also what you can output and the value that the client gets is part of the value. I think that's how we determine our value, and so refuse this weird conversation.
So that sounds like you already have a process of determining what a service will cost you to deliver. But up and above that, you have a process of determining then what is it worth to the client. Because there are certain services that are beyond just the cost, the delivery cost conversation. Because sometimes I feel like, especially like in law or in strategy, it's not about, it's the same 8 hours. But how do you then start, and I would like you guys to jump in and tell me, how do you then start factoring in what can the client afford? Because now then that will justify, because also clients are trying to get the best deal they can get. Yeah, some of them, of course, can be unfair, but everybody wants to get the best deal, whether they are a client or you who's selling the service. But still, how do you balance that, number one? And number two, how then do you determine a value-driven conversation so that you're saying as a client, it's not just about how much it costs me to deliver the service, but how much the service is worth to you. Juliet?
I think we're in a market whereby if it's an invisible thing, I don't feel I should pay a lot of money.
Because it costs nothing to
Because not even it costs, like I cannot see it. If it's this cup, that's why you're saying we don't bargain when we go to petrol stations or supermarkets, because we can see it's physical, it's here.
We don't
We
outsource
exchange.
doctors.
Exactly.
You're like, oh, now my heart is beating lately. I'm looking for 50 doctors. Just look at it and then you tell me what's wrong with the best one.
Yeah.
Will heal me.
But that one is essential. Like doctors don't do
Exactly.
I like the
Doctors don't
doctors
agree.
when they work,
Yeah.
you pay at the reception, then now you go and enter and you visit the expert.
And there's no guarantee.
Yeah, and there's no guarantee.
There's no guarantee.
I know where she's going. I know where she's going with that story of no guarantee.
There's no
because
guarantee.
because okay, one of the things that people then actually even tell lawyers is what happens if I lose.
Yeah.
But you-
That's a question I even asked her.
Yes, you can ask her.
this is, I normally tell people that you see everybody's case is different, 100%. Your facts are your own facts, your evidence is your own evidence. You'll never find a case with the same facts, with the same evidence, okay, unless it's a class action. But it's usually your own facts, your own evidence. So how that will measure up in court is variable. I can only give you have a good chance of success, or you have, this is something that can succeed, may succeed.
But your chips don't move.
No, you get it. So that part of now coming to guarantee success, I think would be very, especially for things which are beyond our control. The only time I'd come and say, I can't guarantee an outcome where I am just presenting my part, the other side presents their part. So I have no control about what the defense will present, no control whatsoever over that, and I have no control about how the magistrate or judge will view the evidence and give the answer. What I can do is, through the education that I've had and the years of experience, look at it and say level of probability, look at it and say, okay, so I think if we phrase your case or frame your case in a particular way, you can be successful. But there are other things which you don't have control. So it's very hard to say, a doctor can need to say, I will heal you. You know, there's so much.
But actually,
There's so
it's not
much
even limited to lawyers. I was
Yeah,
just being
beyond their control.
Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
being the devil's advocate
Yeah.
on that, because even I would imagine even for us as strategy people, if you're doing like a
Yeah.
digital strategy for guys and they're like, so how sure are we that this one will get us the sales we want? Or if it's Alex, how sure are we that that video will get me either the traction or the reach or whatever that I want? Yeah.
Even
Are we
how
sure
we
that
should-
that
yeah.
employee that
Employee will be perfect.
for us
Yeah.
will perform the way we want?
And won't live within 2 months.
Yeah, and that's a huge objection. It's actually the exact same objection around how do you guarantee quality or delivery or performance of whatever service you're giving us. I would like to hear the legal perspective of that, Angela.
Of how do you?
Of how do you have the legal safeguards around the guarantees you give for the performance of your service?
Okay, so I think I always tell people the first thing you need to do in any business is be very clear about what you can do, what you can't do, what you can is in your control, and what's not in your control. So when you come to say I'm giving you a guarantee, you know, if it's something that you know definitely I cannot guarantee, it's not within my control to say 100% you're going to get this and it will be perfect. Just be clear about, be very honest about what you can do and what you can't do. Because also the clients on the other side also appreciate and they understand, like being in a position where they're like, okay, you know, when we started this process, I knew that it would take this period of time. So it was like it's a range of a period of time, or I knew that this could be the outcome, or this is the other outcome that could happen, or this is the mitigation that I would expect out of whatever we're doing. So you find that if you're unclear at the beginning, or if you're so eager to get the work that you are now promising heaven, earth, I promise you that this is going to happen in this way, then you later on that comes to that comes to be a detriment, can be a detriment to you, because if it doesn't go how you expected it to go, remember, even when we are talking to clients, it's also a form of advertising. So if you came and promised and even wrote it down and say, I promise, I guarantee this is the outcome that you're going to get, then it can come back to you, yeah, because then you didn't deliver. You entered into a contract, oral or not, where you made a guarantee and you are not able to give the guarantee. And so, of course, that it always varies, like level of knowledge of the person you're dealing with. Did they know that it could be a viable like outcome? Yeah. So I think that for me, in all of this, the first thing is be clear to your client at all times. If it's about work, when someone is calling you to ask you, can we have lunch or can we do this? Be clear from the very beginning. Are we sitting down to have a meeting to discuss business? If we are, these are my charges. Yeah, so from that moment on, you have a very clear expectation of what is going to go on. If they want to engage with you, when they would. If they don't.
Yeah. So it sounds like Alex has started hammering like his process to the point where like people know that they have to pay for your service and have a very solid idea of what your services are worth. From now the client's point of view, how then do you get them to the point of then this is the outcome. This is the outcome of what our services will give you, and therefore that's why we're charging you what you're charging. Are there any guarantees, and how do you go about that? Because this is a clear pushback that a lot of creatives get.
Oh, sure. So I like that question. First of all, there is also the processes, and definitely the way Angela said, be very clear with what you're starting with. So tell them what they're going to get. So number one for us, it's a scope description, very detailed. This is what we're going to do step by step by step by step. It's going to take this period. It even has a duration, the way it's mapped out. And then now we say we're going to implement. Now in one of the quality control measures and how I know people derive and see our value, number one, is at a certain point we even start, we have to pass, our client has to pass through some kind of a questionnaire, also like an interview, to be like, have you ever done digital before? Have you ever employed somebody to start? Have you done it yourself as the business owner? Have you done something that you feel that you've tried and has not worked? So most of the times we want the client who has said yes, because the ones who've tried, they know the work that goes into it, they appreciate it, and maybe they even had somebody used to do it, and that person was such a core part of the business. When they left, they were just left helter-skelter. So when we come in and give them the sureties of, you get a team, you get somebody who will never leave, because we are consultants. We're not going to be like, oh, all of a sudden, we don't have a photographer anymore. No, we always have a photographer. We'll always have people who can do web design. It's our company, it's a guarantee. Now, you see, the services that we've created digital, that's the core of our business. We'll always have those things. So it will always be solid. You have a guarantee. But never guarantee to say, never overpromise as well. Never say that, oh, now you remember you hired that person, they never got you 100 sales, now us will get you 100 sales. The guarantee is usually that you get X professionals, people who made X, for this, and this is the time they commit. This is hours in videography, all that. So when it's hammered down into detail and they appreciate that value. Also, we do standardize based on market value. If you were to employ one person to do that job, actually a job that would take maybe a photographer, videographer, graphic designer, social media manager, you put them all in one job, how much would you pay them for one? And then how much would you be able to invest to buy cameras, to buy editing equipment? And then now we give it a nice, affordable sum for the SME. So they say, okay, now that makes sense. Because now I'm seeing all this value, I can't and show you all the things we have. The video equipment, the team who's wearing and being creative every day and on social media 24/7, knowing, so you are then like, whew, now you see the value. So once you see value, then from there, it's now an objective discussion of, are you ready as a business owner to also take it up? Because if you're not ready, you'll never see it.
So